Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here. How y'all doing? Look, I've got the Santa hat on, okay, guys? I buckled and I put on the Santa hat for you, okay? So, turn up the sweat works even more than they already are. But thank you so much for joining me. I know it's the middle of the day here on a Saturday. If you're over on the other side of the pond, it is in the evening. So I am calling this a late night with the Davey Before Dark for my, American, Canadian brethren. Maybe we've got some people somewhere else in this, in the Western part of the world, as they call it. But yeah, across the pond, it's nighttime for you Brits. I hope some of you guys are able to join. We'll see. I try to do, time-friendly streams for everybody when I can. So I appreciate you guys joining me. We are going to read chapters 5 and 6 today of Tim Waggoner's Terrifier 3 novelization. How about it? So I'm really looking forward to getting into this. We're still kind of in this part of the story. We've had a little bit of Christmassy action, but we still are kind of playing in that world of Terrifier 2, because these movies are very interconnected. So we got a little bit of Art the Claus, but it seems like we're still hanging out on Halloween night from, I don't know if it's supposed to be 2022 when Terrifier 2 takes place. I think so. But I'm going to have a sip of coffee here from my Michael Myers tiki mug. Yes, that's a Curse of Michael Myers tiki mug with blood on it and all that good stuff. And I'm going to say what's up to you guys, and then we'll get rolling here. I do want to let you know, my original plan here was just to read the first few chapters for you guys publicly, and then do live streams for members only for the remainder of the live readings. However, I thought, why not put up some super chat goals? If we reach the super chat goals, then I will embarrass myself in front of everybody, because while I am comfortable being on camera, reading something I've never read before on camera it's not stressful or anything, but it's a little more difficult. So I figured if you guys wanted to see it publicly, the super chat goal is a good way to make that happen. And no worries, if we don't reach the super chat goal, that's not a big deal. What that says to me is that, as far as doing the rest of the book publicly, that the novelty has worn off and it's okay. I can go ahead and just read the rest of the book for the channel members. And if you want to, you don't want to help reach that super chat goal, that's totally cool too. If you'd like to become a member and experience the rest of the book, membership is as low as $1 a month. So you could sign up for 1 month and then you could leave. No obligation to stick around or anything like that. My feelings won't be hurt. I don't take that stuff personally. I am thankful and grateful for all of the support you guys give. And not everyone can give monetarily, and that is a-okay. All that I ask is that you spend some time with me, because time does have value, right? We've only got a limited amount. So the fact that you share time with me is special. Liking the stream, that's awesome. That's a big one. And then if you want to share the stream, or if you want to hype it, maybe there's a big Terrifier fan in your life. They haven't found their way over here. I've come to find out within the last month or so that we've got a lot of really intense Terrifier fans here hanging out with the Davey Deathray crew. So I am going to be covering some more of that news in that series. I am planning a video that's essentially telling the gatekeepers to stop, to leave their homes, to experience a convention, experience the modern horror world, and you will realize that Art the Clown is an icon. So I'm planning a video to sort of talk to people, my age and older. Not to say that everybody my age and older feels that way, but I do see that out there. And I feel not an obligation, but as someone that's in that demographic that has an opinion that's very strongly in the opposite direction, that he is absolutely an icon, I feel like I should say something, show up for all the Terrifier fans here. So yeah, long story short, thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. No matter what level of support you give, it's appreciated, and it's not forgotten, So not something that I take for granted. I'll say that. So, okay, I'm going to say hello to everybody and then we'll get rolling. I want to be as economical as we can because you might notice that there's a pinned link in the chat to support our Life in Horrors fundraiser marathon stream. They're going all day today. They are raising money for the Sobriety Sisters movement. I've got their page pulled up. I'm just going to say a little bit of something here, so don't get, bent out of shape. I will get to the book. Sobriety Sisters is a nonprofit organization based out of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, here in the United States, and they strive to provide resources and a supportive community for women in all stages of recovery. They support women around the globe with their Facebook support group, and they provide resources and necessities for recovering women in need. They say they support all pathways to recovery. And I know, particularly for Sam, I will let her tell her story, of course, but I'll just speak to what I know that she's shared on the stream so far today. She's celebrating 500 days of sobriety, freedom from alcohol that, was affecting her life in a way that she didn't want it to anymore. And, sorry, I just need some water. Sobriety Sisters was there for her at the beginning when it was really tough. So she wants to, pay it back to them. And they're talking horror all day. They've got different guests and they're talking different genres of horror. And I am actually going to be hopping on over there at 7 p.m. Eastern. So 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to jump on for about an hour and we're going to talk Christmas horror. So you're going to see me in this ridiculous outfit once more today. How about that? And I'm really excited. I'll be the final guest of the stream, and I'm humbled and flattered to be invited at all. It's always a joy to be a guest elsewhere. And, especially when somebody or when a channel is doing something to help others, particularly around the holidays, when I think it's, we get so busy and it's, not that it's more meaningful, but I do think there's something about the holidays that, makes it to where it's nice to carve out a little bit of that extra time if you can. So yeah, I'm excited to go on over there and have that chat. But no matter what, guys, even if you can't donate to the fundraiser, jump on over there, give the stream a like, hang out. I've been hanging out there all morning, just trying to give them those watch hours and trying to make this live stream the most successful live stream they've had ever on their channel. That's my goal. When I did my marathon 10.5 hours for St. Mary's Food Bank, other than having Cody Leach on the channel, and Cody did show up on that stream. He was very gracious with his time along with everybody else that guested. It is one of the best live streams as far as viewership goes. So let's make an impact there. Just getting more eyes on it is going to bring in more money and more awareness and all that kind of good stuff. So anyways, I just wanted to say that because community is important. We have to support each other and we have to lift each other up, right? Right? Let me see some hearts in the chat for that one. All right, we got Chester Franklin Jr. kicking it with us. What's happening, Chester? We got Jay Beach. What up, Jay? Gory Tiger's in the house. How you doing, Gory? Read us a story, please, Santa Davey. That's how I read that to you. I have no idea what you sound like, and I highly doubt you sound like that, but that's just how I read it. Tia is one of our great channel members. How are you doing, Tia? And I say this every time now because she really does crack me up. Tia's really funny, guys. She is a laugh riot in the Discord chat. I tell you what, holy cow. Watching movies with her is like watching movies with Crow T. Robot and Tom Servo and Michael J. Nelson or Joel Robinson. We got the Flet from Another World. How are you doing, Kyle Curtis, one of our great channel members? So great to see you. Stephanie Hinkle's in the house. How are you doing, Stephanie? Stephanie, your cover photo on Facebook. Woo. I was like, is that Stephanie or did she just share a picture that she found somewhere that she likes? That is one creative Christmas tree. Whoever that is in that picture, Stephanie. I know, Mandy. I'm so sorry. Trashbox Mandy, Stars in Music, one of our great channel members. It's the showmanship. You know how it is. You know how it is. Yeah, no, I don't do that. No, I don't. Showtime shouldn't be on time, right? How are you doing, Gene? So good to see you. Hey, Gene, we're kind of like twins. You and your picture right there, and then me. We're kind of like twins. How about it? Papa John can't stay long, but wanted to show up and hit the like button to say that Silent Night, Deadly Night was awesome. It sure was, man. I'm really looking forward to going back, Papa John. Thank you so much for jumping in, man. Hopefully you can catch it on the replay if you want to listen to the chapters. What's up, Robert? How are you doing? So good to see you. Robert the Wolf Man. Ow, ow. Yeah. A little chill, little ow, ow. All right, who else do we got here? Robert is one of our amazing Death Squad mods here. And a good friend. Robert and I are buds, truly. Robert's in the greater Phoenix area, and it's always a pleasure to get to kick it with him. I don't think I've seen Robert. Robert, I don't know if we've seen each other since July. We got to get another big horror show hangout going. But anytime the horror show gets hanging out, you know how people can kind of pair off or whatever. I find that Robert and I pair off quite a bit. You know, there's like a big group of us, and I'll just like make my way on over to Robert. I think, you know, there's certain, like, we feel similarly about certain more heavy things to talk about in this world. So it's nice to find somebody that you can like kind of let off some steam with about that kind of stuff. But then also it's just, he's a really sweet guy. So really fun to talk to, and really easy to become friends with, honestly. I'm sure I've told this story before. When I first saw Robert or met Robert, I was like, man, this guy looks intimidating because he's a big dude. He's got that shaved head with the big beard, and he was wearing these like crazy like yellow contacts. And I was like, dude, this guy is like the big old scary dude. He's the sweetest friggin' teddy bear of a man. We got Gina in the house, one of our great channel members. Gina, I'm so happy you could make it. This is why I go late, so the folks from the UK and everybody else can find us here. And you know what? Another reason why I go late, hopefully it really doesn't bug you guys. I know you guys are probably just giving me shit, but I like seeing that you guys can jump in the chat and say hello to each other and everything before the stream gets going. What's happening, Erica? How are you doing? One of our great Death Squad mods and our queen mod over on the Discord. So great to see you, Erica. I hope you're having a good weekend so far. Erica's also a channel member. Let's see here. Yeah, they're having a great stream over there. Nice. Nick from the Lost River Drive-In. Love that guy. If that's who you're talking about. What's happening, Solar Guy AJ? Welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. Let's see here. We got Jamie Hart, our original Death Squad mod and one of our great channel members, says, can I call you Monkey Boy from now on? It's so endearing. Yes. I know I've heard this phrase before, but there's a band, if you guys are into pop punk, 90s pop punk, there's a band called Sicko out there. I think they're from Spokane, Washington, Eastern Washington. They're great. Really fun, rough recordings, just a really fun, loving, silly band. And they have an album called, I think it's called Laugh While You Can, Monkey Boy, something like that. They have really funny album titles. Another one is called You Can Feel the Love in This Room. And it's like cartoon. It's like a comic of them on stage. And one of the guys is saying it to the rest of the band. And in the background, you see that it's just, they're playing a show, but it's just one couple out there that are like making out in the middle of an empty room. So Sicko, really, really fun stuff. Really silly. Get ready for some silliness. Zach jumping in says, hi, Davey. Good to see you. Currently shoveling a very steep hill for a friend who needs to take some people to work with me, with just me and a shovel. Hopefully I don't become a popsicle. Well, you know, I grew up in Southeast Alaska, and we used to make some money, the kids running around shoveling driveways. You know, it's not fun when you're an adult, but when you're a kid, snow can be really fun. Thank you so much for reminding everyone, Erica. How are you doing, Eli? Welcome on in, one of our great channel members and Death Squad mods. And somebody who I've known to come to know as a friend. How about that? You're totally all right, Gina. Don't worry, I will read some of the chat for you, and then I'm going to read the whole book for you. So, you know, you can just sit back and relax and enjoy the silky smooth voice of Davey Deathray. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody else here, and then we'll get rolling, guys. We got Fachi Cinema, another one of our great Death Squad mods. How are you doing, Matt? So good to see you. Sith Lord Ern jumping on in. How are you doing, Sith? Or Ern? However you want to be referred to. I don't know. I'm not going to assume that I know. Yes, Lost River Driving, perfect. Dude, I heard you mention Head Automatica the other day. I totally forgot about that band. Yeah, I really like that Propaganda album in particular. I mean, I like their music, but that one record in particular. And Stephanie, maybe I missed it, but did you tell me, is that you in there? I'm trying to find Stephanie's chat to confirm or deny that it's her on the Facebook thing, or if she just found the picture. I missed it. I must have missed it. What can you do? Let's get the Davey Smut Hour going. Yeah, Allie Girl wants me to read naughty books. You guys, I put a poll out there last time. It sounds like you guys do want me to start like a story time kind of channel. It doesn't have to be smut, but it could be. Whoa, ring a ding ding. Look at that. Trashbox Mandy kicking things off with a $5 super chat. Says Sith Lord Ern is Nanners. And maybe I knew that at one point, but totally forgot. Maybe I just totally forgot. What's happening, Nanners? Great to see you. Not me. You'd be banned. Oh, they would ban. Dead by Daylight will ban you again. Fair enough. Oh, Facebook will ban you again. Yeah, you don't want Facebook banning you. I mean, especially if it's not even that bad, right? Amanda, thank you so much for the $5. And thank you so much for the lovely evening last night. It had been a while since I stuffed my face with candy and filled my lungs with the sweet, sweet vibes of cannabis. So candy and cannabis. Yeah. Oh my God. And she fed me dinner too. Really, really good grilled cheese sandwiches, guys. I ate like a whole plate full of little cut up grilled cheese sandwiches like an absolute animal, standing in the kitchen, plate in hand. No manners at all. No manners, Nanners. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this. How about it, right? Are you guys ready? Are you pumped? Are you psyched? Are you ready? Okay, as I said, Terrifier 3, Tim Waggoner. This one was $21. This is the first print. We found, how many have we found, guys? I think there's been 3 or 4 misprints in here. Really not that bad. Maybe I should point them out, reach out to the people just to let them know. Maybe they'll send me a signed copy or something fun like that. I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. Okay, cool. So the last time we left, you know, Arthur the clown and Victoria the, I don't know, I guess she's become the big bad already. It's very interesting how this is all shaping up. The last we saw them, they were on a subway, and a gentleman dressed as Art the Clown got on the subway with a pristine costume. And it sounds as though plans were being made for Art to take the costume after the gentleman snapped a bunch of pictures for his social media. So that is the last we read. Let's see what else. Guys, if you hear a high-pitched buzzing in the background, that's just the little Roomba doing its thing. Oh, and I do want to mention before we get going here, I need more water. It's my brother Matt's birthday. How about that? December 13th, Matt Conway's birthday. Happy birthday to my brother Matt. Guys, if you have somebody in your life who has a birthday during December, the closer it gets to Christmas, but really, even this close, Christmas can kind of get in the way a little bit. So make sure that person knows that you care. Give them some birthday love and carve out some time in your schedule to spend time with them, because there's plenty of time left in the month to celebrate Christmas. Let's be honest, right? So carve out that time, hang out with your loved ones, make sure those folks with December birthdays don't get left behind. And I guess with that being said, let's see what happens with our guy Arthur and our gal Victoria here. There we go. We got some birthday love for brother Matt. Yes, my brother Matt has been very sweet to me my entire life. You know, throughout my 20s and 30s, lots of, hey, Dave, do you want to fly out here? I'll fly out for a show. Let's go catch NoFX. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Lots of fun doing that kind of stuff. And then in the last year of my life, with the massive life changes sweeping in, he's been kind enough to open up his home. So, yeah, gotta share some love. I appreciate you guys sharing the love as well. Okay, guys, let's get into the book. I've blah, blah, blah'd for 20 minutes, but all of it was necessary and good blah, blah, blah. But here we go. Oh, this is going to be easier to read, honestly, with the daylight. Because before I was like trying to make sure it looked good for you guys, but it was more difficult to read if I'm being honest. Okay, chapter 5. Ooh, let me turn down the music. I almost forgot. There we go. I think that's a little bit better for the music. I might even turn it down one more notch. Yes, there we go. And guys, I'm not ignoring the chat, but I do hide the chat just so it doesn't distract me. Make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Art and Victoria strolled down a dark, deserted street lined with the dilapidated ruins of two-story houses. Art wore his recently acquired clean costume, and with it, and his reborn head, he felt like a brand new clown. The rain had ended, but the streets and sidewalks remained wet, and steady streams of dirty water flowed down gutters and into sewer openings. Only a few streetlights still worked, and those only intermittently, their fluorescent bulbs flickering and buzzing, on the verge of burning out. The sidewalk was littered with trash, crumpled fast food wrappers, crushed beer cans, broken glass bottles, and fragments of bones that had been picked clean by vermin, some animal bones, some not. The residences here were run down and falling apart, with broken or boarded up windows, sagging roofs, and walls marred with spray-painted graffiti. Mostly crudely rendered cocks with drops of jizz shooting from their swollen heads. Okay. But there were messages too, sinister and enigmatic. Watch out for dog eaters. Are you on shine? The unhigh is watching. Most of the structures had been abandoned, at least by humans. Now they provided shelter for hungry rats, wild dogs, feral cats, and a bazillion roaches. Other things dwelled here too, strange, dangerous creatures who lurked in shadowy nooks and crannies, waiting patiently for some unwary passerby to walk past a little too slowly and come a little too close to where they hid. Art felt right at home. Victoria stopped in front of a particularly decrepit house and looked it over. Art joined her and cast an appraising eye on the place as well. It looked as if a single stiff wind would be enough to knock it down. More than enough. The windows and doors were boarded. Thick, molted vines clung to the walls, and the yard was overgrown with twisted, malformed weeds. But as delightful as all those details were, the thing that impressed Art most was something that could not be seen by the human or inhuman eye, only sensed. The house was rife with the foul negative energy that was corruption, the manifestation of entropy itself. Art smiled at Victoria and nodded. The place was perfect. They walked up to the house. Art chose a window to the right of the front door and began yanking the boards free and dropping them to the ground. When all the boards were gone and the windows grime-staked surfaced exposed, he made a fist and punched the glass as hard as he could. It shattered and the jagged pieces fell inside. He could have used one of the boards to break the glass, but where would be the fun in that? He crawled through the window and Victoria followed. The living room was dark, but Art could see just fine. Darkness was, after all, his natural habitat. The bare floorboards were dirty and warped from water damage, and chunks of crumbling plaster had fallen away from the walls and lay in uneven clumps in front of the baseboards riddled with holes. Some furniture remained, a couch, an easy chair, a coffee table, but it was old, scratched, torn, marred by splotches of unidentifiable substances. The air smelled of mildew and mold, along with the stale fustiness of a place closed off from the outside world for years, perhaps decades. Huge rats, lean and hungry, fur-matted and filthy, rushed out of the baseboard holes and began scurrying around Art and Victoria's legs, raising a chorus of high-pitched squeaks. Victoria clapped her hands in delight. She then lay down on the floor and giggled as the rats swarmed her, crawling over her body, running up and down her arms and legs, slipping beneath her hospital gown to nibble the soft flesh beneath, and burrowing into her hair as if checking its suitability as nesting material. Clearly amused, Victoria stroked their furry little sides with the tips of her fingers and made soft cooing sounds, as if trying to calm a nursery of fussy babies. Art watched for a while, unmoved. He liked rats okay. He preferred to eat them raw, but he wasn't a fan of the little furry bastards. Whenever he stashed the meat from one of his kills somewhere to save for later, rats would find it and start chowing down before he could return and tuck in himself. Fucking thieves were what they were. He walked out of the living room, leaving Victoria to her squirming rat love fest. He passed through an empty dining room, floorboards creaking beneath his large, heavy shoes, as if they might collapse under his weight any second. But they held, and he entered a kitchen with broken cups and mugs on the floor, cupboard doors hanging halfway off their hinges, and the desiccated corpse of a mangled cat lying in the sink. Nice of the previous tenants to leave him a snack, but he wasn't hungry right now. Maybe later. He found a door on the far side of the room, opened it, and saw a set of wooden steps leading down into darkness. A scary basement in an abandoned nightmare house? Yes, please. He descended the steps, carrying his beloved bag of toys. Victoria had removed the bicycle horn from the bag and was honking it nonstop, like a mischievous child who only looked like a demonic force from the lowest, darkest region of the pit. She held the horn close to his ear, and as they reached the basement floor, she gave it several loud honks. He grimaced and turned his head away from her. Man, it was annoying being on the other side of that. Victoria honked the horn in her own face a couple times, laughed, then tossed it over her shoulder. The basement was unfinished and there were no windows. It was cluttered with old furniture and shelves filled with junk, everything covered in cobwebs. Nothing looked particularly interesting at first, but then Art noticed a workbench against the far wall. He made his way over to it and examined the tools laid out on its surface: hammer, hacksaw, screwdriver, pliers, scissors, chisel, and ran his fingers across the instruments lovingly. It would be nice to have a place to work on his projects again, but not right now. He'd already felt weary, but now a deep lethargy settled on him, and he turned from the workbench and trudged back to the stairs, barely able to lift his feet. He gripped the railing for support as he went up, and then he shuffled through the kitchen and into the hallway. Led by a powerful instinct, he started up the hall stairs, over large shoes clomping heavily on the wood. When he reached the second floor, he shuffled to a door and opened it to reveal an attic. The cramped room contained a jumble of stored furniture covered with dust and cobwebs, including an old dining table with a couple of broken legs, armchairs, and a sofa with faded threadbare and torn fabric. And sitting across the room in front of a semicircular window, almost as if it had been placed there special for him, a wooden rocking chair. He walked over to it slowly, eyes half-lidded, and sat. He began rocking. Before long, the lethargy overwhelmed him, and his body stiffened into immobility. His breathing eased and then ceased altogether. His eyes stopped blinking and stared sightlessly at nothing. The chair stopped rocking, and Art sat there, motionless, black-lipped grin frozen on his face, and waited. After a few moments, rats slunk out from hidey holes and warily approached Art. A couple of the braver ones climbed onto his shoes and waited to see what he would do. When he didn't react, they began climbing up his legs. The others saw this, found their courage, and followed. Before long, dozens of rats had mounted Art's body, lay in his lap, stood on his upper legs, forearms, and shoulders, and crouched on top of his head. None of them attempted to take a bite out of him, though. They knew better. Victoria sensed what Art had done, and she approved. She'd restored him to life, or at least his debased semblance of it, but he was far from his full strength. He needed to rest and heal more fully, and that meant he would have to feed. She could help in that department. They also couldn't risk attacking Sienna again. She'd come into her power tonight despite their best efforts to prevent that from happening. And while the bitch had been physically wounded, she was spiritually strong, more so than the thing that currently wearing Victoria's skin had anticipated. Regardless of the transformation Sienna had undergone, she was still human, and the wonderful thing about humans was that spiritual strength was hard for them to maintain. Dark emotions, doubt, guilt, sorrow, despair, anger, shame, and above all fear, ate away at that strength bit by bit, devouring it slowly but mercilessly. Given enough time, Sienna would weaken, and when that time was right, Victoria and Art would strike. In the meantime, this place would be their home. Victoria rose, displacing her new friends. As she walked through the house to acquaint herself with their new digs, the rats followed, circling around her feet and squeaking to get her attention. Adorable. She passed through various rooms with her furry entourage in tow, and when she came to the upstairs bathroom, she stepped inside, rats following. The place was absolutely disgusting. Walls caked with black mold, the toilet clogged with raw sewage, a hole in the ceiling above the bathtub, and the tub itself filled to the brim with thick black sludge. She loved it. A cracked mirror hung above the sink, and she stepped over to it to examine her reflection. It was dark in the bathroom, and while she could see after a fashion, she wanted the best view possible. She didn't bother looking for a light switch. The house had no electricity, but that was okay. She had plenty of power on her own. Let there be light, she thought, and a bulb above the sink illuminated. She gazed at her fragmented reflection in the mirror and then reached out and slid her index finger down the glass. You used to be so pretty. Now nobody will fuck you, pretty girl. She slammed her head into the mirror over and over, screaming, pretty girl, pretty girl. Glass shards fell into the sink. The sound like, gosh, another typo here, or misprint. Glass shards fell into the sink. The sound like music to her. The rats, startled by the noise, scurried out of the bathroom as fast as they could. Victoria barely noticed. When she drew back from what was left of the mirror, blood streaming from her forehead, she examined the shards in the sink with a critical eye. She selected the largest of the pieces. It had a wonderfully sharp edge, then stepped over to the bathtub. With the light on, she could better see a large hole in the ceiling where rainwater and who knows what other nasty surprises had fallen into the tub over the years. Victoria, still wearing her hospital gown, climbed into the tub and slid into the black sludge. After soaking for a few moments, she began to feel calm and relaxed for the first time in, well, forever, really. Only one thing could make this even better. She still held the glass shard in her right hand. She lifted her left arm, pressed the sharp edge of the glass fragment to her skin, and began slowly slicing down her veins. She released a contented sigh as she watched her blood join with the black goo. November. One evening, a few days before Thanksgiving, Victoria was sitting on the floor of the living room in her filthy, tattered hospital gown, inserting needles into the tender soles of her feet. It hurt so good. When one of the rats scurried, it hurt so good when one of the rats scurried up to her. It was a small black one that she'd named Pestilent, and he acted as an unofficial liaison between her and the rest of the rats. He was missing an eye just like she was, and she felt that gave them a special bond. Pestilent, or Pest for short, stopped near her foot, sniffed the dots of blood that had dripped onto the floor from her tiny wounds, and turned his shiny black eyes to her, or eye to her, right? He began making sounds so high-pitched that no human ear could detect them. Fortunately, Victoria was no longer human. She listened for a moment. When she was finished, she said, "All right, calm down. I'll take a look." She stood and put her full weight on the needle-pierced foot, driving the needles deeper until she could feel the points grind against bone. She closed her eye for a second, savoring the sensation. Then Pest squeaked impatiently, and she opened her eye. "I'm coming, damn it." Pest was well named. If he kept being so irritating, she'd lube him up, shove him up her ass, and let him die from the stench of her impacted bowels. As if sensing her thought, Pest scurried out from her reach. She followed, and he led her upstairs to the attic, Victoria leaving blood footprints on the steps, where a number of rats had gathered around Art's legs. Victoria could feel their worry and concern, and after a quick examination of her favorite clown, she knew what was bothering her furry friends. Art hadn't moved since sitting down on Halloween night. Hadn't so much as drawn and exhaled a single breath. He'd been surviving off energy reserves this entire time, but he hadn't had much to start with, and now his tank was running low. Small patches of gray-green rot dotted his face and neck, and his eyes were white with cataracts. Victoria knew if she didn't do something soon, she could lose him for good, and she'd put too much goddamn work into him to risk that happening. She bent down, picked up Pest, and placed him on her shoulder. She scratched the top of his head, and the rat clicked its teeth with pleasure. Good boy. Victoria returned upstairs, Pest continuing to ride on her shoulders. She didn't have a cell phone, but the house had an old landline sitting on a side table next to the couch in the living room. She sat, picked up the handset, and held it to the side of her head. The phone's cord had been cut some time ago, but that didn't make any difference to her. The phone would work because she willed it to do so. She reached over and punched in a number from memory. There was a click and an overly cheerful voice came on the line. This is Food Express. This is Food Express. How may we serve you? Rodney Quang was having an extremely shitty night. He'd started his shift at 8 p.m. and so far, a pickup had nearly smashed into his Civic when the driver ran a red light at an intersection. He'd also gotten a speeding ticket, and he'd only been going 10 miles per hour over the limit. His accounting professor had posted the latest test grades. Rodney had received a C. And most of his customers tonight had been people so busy getting ready for Thanksgiving that they refused to cook anything until the big day, and who hadn't tipped a single penny. To put the rotten cherry on top of the shit Sunday, his girlfriend had broken up with him via text. Man, this guy's having a really bad day. Sorry, R, but it's not working. See ya. Cold. When Rodney first started at Food Express, he thought it the perfect job for a college student like him. He could set his own hours and work as much or as little as he liked, and this versatility meant that he could balance the demands of college courses with the need to make money. Big presentation of principles of business management the next day. Stay home and work on a PowerPoint. Nothing going on during the weekend? Work your ass off. Plus, he didn't have a supervisor riding along with him to bust his chops, which meant he basically was his own boss. But he hadn't taken into account how fucking irritating the job was. The majority of his customers treated him decently, but it was the ones who treated him like shit that really got under his skin. They acted like he was their servant instead of an independent contractor, and if the restaurant got their order wrong, did they call up the place and complain? No, they bitched him out, as if he made the goddamn food as well as delivered it. One more year to graduation, he told himself. Then he'd head off to a different school to get his MBA. Stanford, maybe, or Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And after that, he'd find a good job with a good company, the money would start rolling in, and he could forget all about Food Express. He couldn't wait. It was closing in on midnight, and he was tired, both mentally and physically. He was thinking about packing it in and heading home when another delivery order came through the Food Express app on his phone. His family lived in Ohio, where he was planning to drive for Thanksgiving, and he could use some extra gas money. He picked up his phone and thumbed the accept button, and the order details downloaded. As soon as he saw them, he'd wish he'd been smart enough to head home. The food was easy enough, 2 fried chickens and a large Coke from Cluck and Go. But the address was in a sketchy part of town he studiously avoided, as did everyone else he knew. Rodney called it the Blight, and the other Food Express drivers refused to go there. Not that there was anyone living in those abandoned piece of shit houses to place any orders. Except one, evidently. Rodney was tempted to decline the delivery and go home. But whenever a driver passed on a delivery, their reliability rating with Food Express took a hit, and they found themselves receiving fewer delivery requests. Yes, this was only one delivery, and it wasn't like he made a habit of passing on jobs. He currently had an A2 rating, however, and feared that if he declined this delivery, he'd never get the coveted A1. Screw it, he thought, and headed for Cluck and Go. 1 second, guys. I just need a sip. Okay. 15 minutes later, Rodney pulled up in front of a house on a dark, unlit street so creepy that the Addams family wouldn't set foot on it. There were no lights on inside, no vehicle in the driveway, no sign that anyone lived here now or had for years. He sat there for a few moments, engine running, debating if he wanted to get that A1 rating so badly that he was willing to risk getting out of his car. It wasn't just the rating, though. Tuition for next semester was due soon, and his financial aid wouldn't cover the whole cost. Unless he wanted to take out even more loans than he already had, he needed every dime he could get. Maybe whoever will give me maybe whoever ordered will give me a good tip since no one else will come out here. Probably not, but a guy could dream, couldn't he? Rodney picked up the plastic bag containing the fried chicken from the passenger seat, grabbed the Coke from the cup holder, and got out of his Civic. He was going to lock the door, but he decided against it in case he needed to make a quick getaway. The cement driveway was cracked and crumbling, and Rodney stepped carefully to avoid tripping. The last thing he wanted was to fall and break an ankle or elbow or something, or worse, spill the food and get a bad review from the customer. The moron tripped over his damn feet and spread our food all over the driveway. 0 stars. Rodney managed not to trip, though, and he crossed the walkway, which was in equally bad condition, to the front door. The handles of the chicken bag were looped around his left wrist, so he used that hand to knock. The sound was muffled as if the door swallowed the vibrations from his knocking, and the wood felt soft and wet, as if it might collapse into mushy pulp any second. 30 seconds, he thought. If no one answers by then, I'm out of here. He'd counted to 24 by the time the door opened. He expected it to creak loudly. Instead, it produced a moist sucking sound as if the door had been glued to the jamb, but the glue hadn't been allowed to set fully. Fuck me, he thought, and he was surprised to find out that he was trembling. He didn't see anyone in the doorway, but it was dark both inside and out. Anything could be standing there, only a couple feet away, and he'd never know. Hello? No one responded immediately. Rodney found himself seriously considering dropping out of college and going to work at his sister's bicycle repair shop when he heard a woman speak. Thank you so much for coming. You wouldn't believe what a difficult time we have getting deliveries around here. Yes, I would. I've got 2 fried chickens and a large Coke from Cluck and Go. Does that sound right? I'm something of a raw foodist, the woman said, so I'm not really interested in the chicken. Rodney's stomach sank. Whoever had ordered the meal had chosen to pay for it upon delivery. If the customer refused to pay, Food Express was going to be pissed, and they'd take the cost of the meal out of his earnings. Was this some kind of prank? If so, he sure as shit wasn't laughing. I'm afraid the chicken was merely a ruse to get you out here. I will take that drink, though. A hand emerged from the darkness, removed the Coke from his grip, and withdrew. I don't suppose you have a straw? The woman said. No, sorry. I don't. Then what the fuck good are you? The woman shrieked. Rodney was so startled that he took a step back, but before he could turn and run, the woman's other hand shot out of the blackness, grabbed hold of his jacket, and yanked him inside. A second later, the door slammed shut. Rodney couldn't see the woman, but she held him up one-handed so his feet didn't touch the floor. Christ, she was strong. The bag of chicken still hung from his left wrist, and he shook it off. It fell to the floor, and he heard the scuttling of small feet and excited, high-pitched squeaking. Rats? Oh my God. He listened as they tore into the plastic bag and gnawed through the tinfoil in which the chicken was wrapped. My friends will eat anything, the woman said, even slop like that chicken, but you're what I'm really interested in. Panic took hold of him, and he thrashed and kicked, trying to free himself, but it was no good. The woman was too inhumanly strong. She slammed Rodney against the floor back first, and then the impact drove the air from his lungs. As he struggled to breathe, he felt her release his jacket, but before he could attempt to stand, she placed a bare foot on his chest to hold him down. All right, pest, she said. Time for you and your crew to get to work. At first, Rodney thought she was talking to him, but then he felt dozens of small bodies climb onto his body. Rats began biting his exposed flesh, burrowing under his clothes to get at the skin beneath, and tearing into him with their small, hard teeth. He opened his mouth wide enough to scream, but he still couldn't pull enough air into his lungs to breathe, let alone make any sound. But by opening his mouth, he made a clear passageway for some of the rats. They squirmed into his mouth and forced their way down his throat, clawing and biting and tearing as they went. As Rodney felt himself begin to fade, he thought this wasn't just a shitty day. It was the worst fucking day of his life. It was also the last. Victoria stood in the attic drinking her Coke without a straw, thank you very much, Mr. Dead Delivery Boy, and watching the steady procession of rats coming up the stairs, carrying bits of flesh, muscle, and organs. They moved across the floor to where Art sat in his rocker, immobile, eyes milky white, patches of widening rot on his skin. The rats climbed up his right leg, over his stomach and chest, up to his neck, over his chin, then perched on one of his cheeks. They slid the morsels they brought between his black lips, and after a second, Art's body, acting entirely on instinct, slurped the meat down. The rats then descended his body and hopped to the floor. From there, they scurried back upstairs to fetch more food. This process would continue until nothing was left of the boy save for clothes and bones, and Art's belly was full to bursting. The meat was already having the desired effect. Art's cataracts had shrunk a little, and as had the gray-green splotches of Rod. A day or so from now, he'd be good as new, until such time as the decay set in again, in which case Victoria would call Food Express and place a new order. Victoria had saved the best part of the boy for herself and tore mouthfuls from his heart as if she were eating a bloody apple. She had to give it to the kid. Not only had he delivered promptly, but he was also delicious. 5 stars. Okay, that is the end of chapter 5. Let's take a little break, check in with you guys. Wet hour whistle. We've got a smaller, more intimate group here today. That's expected in the middle of a Saturday. And hopefully some folks that aren't over here are supporting the Our Life in Horror stream. Yeah, Cluckin' Go's a great name. Yes, I would have turned around. So here's my thing. I've been a pizza delivery guy. I've delivered for like DoorDash and stuff too, but I worked at a pizza joint called Hot Lips in Portland, and I, pizza slinger, I was like the front clerk, driver. I became a cook. I became a supervisor and manager, all that kind of stuff. Like worked my way up in the, 5 or 6 years I worked there. I would definitely not go into this house in this particular situation. Now, sometimes people would invite you in. It was Portland, and they would be like, do you want to have a smoke? Okay, we can do that. Or they'd be like, do you want a beer? And I'm like, well, obviously I'm driving. I can't do that. And they're like, but I've got a bottle. And if you just wanted to take it with you and you can enjoy it after work, thank you so much. They would also tip cash. People were very friendly in that regard. And then one time, a couple of good-looking middle-aged ladies invited me in, and they wanted me to. We talked about music. They wanted me to play them a song, so I played them a song. Nothing weird happened, although they did want me to come back when I was done with work. But I was seeing somebody at the time, and I'm not a shithead. So I gave them a song, but nothing else. Boom. Evil man. What's happening, bud? I think that's Jeff Overing, if I remember correctly. Freaky was good. I liked Freaky. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, I guess Erica hates both Hellraiser movies called Hellraiser, but man, that 2022 Hellraiser was abysmal. It was very, very difficult getting through that movie, unfortunately. Just making sure I'm not missing anything else. Yeah, broken up via text. Hopefully they weren't seeing each other that long. Yeah, Freaky was really fun. I really enjoyed Freaky. Vince Vaughn shows a lot of range in that movie. I know that might be a silly thing to say about Vince Vaughn, but he shows quite a bit of range. Striptease pizza delivery. Yeah, no, that never happened. They made me sing. What's happening, bud? What's the Query Kev 2755. I hope that YouTube gets rid of just using the handles, because they're difficult to read, and I like using people's name. But welcome on in, man. I don't know if this is your first time. I'm just doing a reading of the Terrifier 3 novelization, just taking a little break here. But welcome on in. Usually we, discuss horror and have topical discussions. I love giving the chat the floor quite a bit. I love sharing the space with everyone. So I'm not sure if this is your first time jumping on in. But welcome, man. I hope you have a good time. We have a really lovely community here. So all are welcome, as long as all are respectful. I think that's pretty reasonable, right? Damn, Erica, they were right about you. Just joined in and Hellraiser is being spoken of. Yeah. Well, I'll second Erica. And I'm not gonna trash the movie. Some people maybe would trash Hellraiser 2022 because they're like, oh, I found out that it's like a trans woman that plays Pinhead or whatever. I really don't care about any of that stuff. I just want the movie to be good. However Pinhead was interpreted in that movie, to me, didn't fit. Now, I haven't read the Hellraiser story, the Clive Barker story, so maybe it does fit the story. I know they were trying to match some of the concept art, the early concept art for Pinhead. But I've got to believe that the Doug Bradley version of Pinhead is in line with what Clive Barker wanted, because he directed the first movie. And one of the cool things about Clive Barker, Erica, maybe this is kind of insightful. I know you don't really enjoy the movies, but one of the things I really love about Clive Barker is that he is an author, but he's also a visual artist as well. So usually when Clive works on something, he not only writes it, but he also provides the visual reference and the imagery to go along with it, which I think is really cool. Like, whether or not you like what he creates, that's totally fair. But I think it's really cool when somebody can fully realize their vision like that, like literally literally visualize it and put it out there. I think that's cool. Kind of like what Carpenter does with being a director and also a musician. I like that combo. I think it's cool to be able to control the audience's experience. Not control the audience, but just control the experience. So yeah, Jamie Clayton is trans. So I don't really have anything against that. I'm not like a hateful person or anything like that. And I think that Pinhead has been described as pretty much like androgynous. Like Pinhead isn't really supposed to be a man or a woman, really. It's supposed to be kind of something that's in between. And I think that the Doug Bradley version of the character definitely embodies that kind of feel. So, yeah, exactly. Keelan, you said it, and I'm saying it, but you had already typed it. So yes, that's true. I think that when your audience gets used to one visual interpretation, it's just like, you can't blame them for wanting to see something that's closer to that. But even so, I thought about it. I was like, well, even if this version of Pinhead was in the black leather, I still wouldn't like the design very much. I didn't really like the skeletal facial features. And I didn't really like the voice either. I don't know. The movie was just boring. The movie was just way too long. If the movie was an hour and a half, they could have trimmed out some of the fat and it would have been a lot more accessible for me. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Okay. Are you guys ready for chapter 6? What do we got here? Probably another, the chapters are about 10 pages. So pretty cool. Yeah. Cause it's 27 chapters, 270 pages. So with the prologue, it's, just under 10 pages a chapter. But here we go. I mean, you got to stay away from strange houses and people, right? You have to listen to the hairs that stand up on the back of your neck. There's like one of those stories about Ted Bundy that one of the women that, after the fact, she came forward because he did try to lure her. She literally felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up when he tried to like get her to help him with groceries. One of the weird things, like that's kind of like what he would do is he'd like act like he was injured and, oh, can you help me like get my stuff to my car? And she just got this feeling. She might have even gotten in the car with him and escaped. I can't remember. But listen to that feeling and get away. It's okay. It's worth it offending somebody if you've got that weird feeling. So there you go. Like I think the Doug Bradley version is androgynous enough. It's not like he calls himself a man or anything like that, right? Okay, here we go. And dude, the first Hellraiser's awesome. Come on, Erica. It's awesome. You don't need Pinhead. That's how good the first Hellraiser movie is that you don't need Pinhead. Okay, here we go, guys. Chapter 6. Happy Valley Wellness Center. Late December, 5 years later. This wasn't Greg Bowen's first visit, but every time he came here, he couldn't get over how much it didn't look like a hospital. From the outside, it was a very modern building, all glass and chrome, with numerous large windows to let in plenty of sunshine, surrounded by beautiful, well-maintained landscaping. There were many trees on the grounds, mostly white pine, red maple, and Norway spruce, along with a lovely flower garden in the back during spring and summer. There was an artificial pond with a fountain at its center, and wooden benches were placed at intervals around, allowing patients to sit and talk with each other, visit with friends and family, or have some quiet time alone in a tranquil setting. Of course, it was late December and the grounds were covered with a couple inches of snow. With any luck, they'd have a white Christmas this year. The interior of the hospital, of the center, was equally as pleasant as the exterior. Lots of open space and muted colors, mostly varieties of off-white, such as eggshell, cream, and ivory. In the reception area, metal sculptures of large green leaves hung from the ceiling over pleather chairs and couches, and abstract paintings of swirling blue, purple, aquamarine, and other soothing colors adorned the walls. Everything was gently illuminated by a warm, soft light, and the place was always so goddamn clean. Not a single scuff, mark, or speck of dirt on the floors. Window glass always clear and spotless, metal polished and gleaming. The place was decorated for the holidays. Christmas trees in the lobby, generic cardboard images of the season taped to the walls and the front of the reception desk. Snowflakes, snowmen, brightly wrapped presents, pine trees and snow-covered fields. No Santas, elves, or reindeer, and no religious imagery of any kind. Greg had no idea how people with mental health issues were supposed to get better here. It was so aggressively bland and antiseptic that it looked like it belonged to a future envisioned in a 1960s sci-fi movie. It came from planet Beige. He told himself not to be too hard on the place. After all, it had helped Sienna where other hospitals had failed her. It wasn't cheap, but Sienna had been on disability for the last few years, and Greg and his wife Jessica also helped out with the cost. They'd never told this to Sienna, but he was sure she suspected. She was smart as hell and never missed a trick. Her parents hadn't left much behind in the way of assets, but there had been some savings, a few stocks and bonds, and a pair of IRA accounts and life insurance policies. Greg worked as a financial advisor and was able to parlay Sienna's and Jonathan's meager inheritance into a less meager one by placing it in a trust for the siblings so it would grow over time. It might never be large enough for both of them to live off of without needing to work, but it would definitely make the rest of their lives easier. A woman in her 30s with raven black hair pulled into a bun stood behind the curved wooden reception desk, smiling as she watched Greg approach in his plaid brown and black coat. Her manner was artificial and calculated, like a mannequin that had been brought to life. He greeted her when he reached the desk. "Hi." She smiled as if arrival was the greatest thing to happen in her oh my gosh. She smiled as if his arrival was the greatest thing to happen to her in the last month. "Good morning." She wore a soft pink blouse with a long-sleeved dark maroon sweater. Greg typically wore a suit and tie to work, but he'd taken time off for the holidays, and today he wore a brown sweater, tan pants, and a pair of brown loafers. As casually dressed as he was, he could probably be mistaken for one of the staff. "I'm here to pick up my niece," he said. "She's a patient." The receptionist lifted a tablet computer off the counter and swiped a finger across the screen to wake it up. "What's her name?" "Shaw. Sienna Shaw." The receptionist began tapping the screen, but before she found anything, a young woman's voice cut through the air. "Uncle Greg!" Greg turned to see Sienna. Ooh, there's a misspelling here. Greg turned to see Sienna coming across the lobby toward him, carrying a duffel bag and a suitcase, a big grin on her face. She wore a yellow coat over a salmon-colored sweater with extra long sleeves that covered most of her hands, brown leggings, and flats. He turned back to the receptionist. "Never mind." He hurried to meet Sienna halfway. "Hey, kiddo." She put down her luggage and he gave her a big hug. When they parted, he examined her face. It had been the first week in October 2 years previous since he, Jessica, and Gabby had been permitted to visit her. Halloween was the roughest day of the month for her, of course, but her anxiety was high throughout the entire season. During that visit, Sienna had seen a new staff member with whom she wasn't familiar. This man had a shaved head and was slender, and that had been enough to make Sienna see him as the Miles County Clown. It's him! It's him!" "No, kiddo, it's not. I swear he's just one of the people who work here." Greg had given Jessica a look and she nodded. She took Gabby's hand, and they both said goodbye to Sienna and left. Greg stayed, and a good thing too, because a minute later, the man with the shaved head came over to their table and smiled. "How are you two doing? You need anything?" Sienna lunged at the man, and if Greg hadn't managed to grab a hold of her in time, who knew what she might have done to that guy? God, the expression she'd had on her face, the absolute hatred. He'd known intellectually that the clown had slaughtered Sienna's friends 5 years ago, along with a lot of other people, and that he'd come damn close to killing both her and Jonathan. But he hadn't truly understood the emotional toll that night had taken on her until he saw the look on her face when she thought she was attacking Art the Clown. At that moment, something happened that he never could have imagined. He was afraid of Sienna. Orderlies rushed over to help Greg, and they'd taken Sienna away kicking and screaming. Greg, Jessica, and Gabby didn't hear from her again for 1 month. And after that, they were allowed only one 15-minute phone call a week with her. Just voice, no FaceTime or Skype. He was relieved to see how good she looked. The last time he'd seen her, she'd been pale, dark bags of skin beneath her eyes, straw-like hair that hadn't been washed recently, and fingernails she'd chewed to the quick. Now her face was a healthy color. Her hair was freshly shampooed, and her fingernails were well trimmed and unbitten. But the most significant change he saw was in her eyes. She was there, all of her, maybe for the first time since that night in the Terrifier. But he also saw other things: uncertainty, fragility, fear. Outwardly, it might seem like she was completely recovered, but inside, she was barely holding on. For a second, he wondered if she was truly ready to be discharged, but he pushed his doubt aside. A week ago, he'd spoken at length with Dr. Catry, the psychiatrist in charge of Sienna's treatment, and she'd assured him that while Sienna still had a long road ahead of her, if she continued taking her medication regularly and attended therapy sessions twice a month, she'd eventually be fine, or at least as fine as she was ever going to get. "We don't get over severe trauma," the doctor had said. "We carry it with us the rest of our lives, like scars. But we can learn to accept it as part of our identity without allowing it to define us." The doctor had said that the best thing for Sienna right now was to be around family, especially during the holiday season. The more love and support she can get, the better. "I sure hope you're right, Doc." He smiled. "It's so good to see you." Her grin lit up his face. For a moment, it was like she was a carefree teenager again. "You too," she said. "You look great." And she did, all things considered. He glanced at her duffel bag and suitcase resting on the floor. "Here, let me get those." He started to reach for them, but Sienna quickly bent down and picked them up. "I got it." He didn't get the sense that she felt uncomfortable with him touching her stuff, more like she didn't want him to put up any trouble. That was the Sienna he knew. "Oh, come on, I insist." He held out his arms, wiggled his fingers as if saying, "Gimme, gimme." She rolled her eyes, laughed, and handed over her luggage. "Thanks." "So, what do we do here? Can we just leave, or..." "No, I gotta sign out at the desk first." "Okay, let's do it." Sienna sat in the passenger seat of Greg's Kia Sorrento. Seatbelt buckled, heating vents angled to keep most of the air off her. Greg must have noticed because he said, "If it's too warm in here, just let me know." "It's fine." She sighed contentedly and settled back, happy to be out in the world again, like a normal person, she thought. It was a gray December day in upstate New York, with an overcast sky and snow on the ground. She used to hate days like this. She didn't mind the cold, and she loved the snow, but she'd always found the lack of sunshine to be depressing. But now, the world she saw through the Sorrento's window struck her as absolutely beautiful. Anything was beautiful as long as it was outside the wellness center. Greg spoke again. "Also, I think Aunt Jess is going to order some lunch when we get home, but if you're hungry now, we can stop and get something on the way." She was a bit hungry, but she didn't want to delay seeing Aunt Jess and Gabby. "I can wait." "So, how's my little partner in crime?" Greg grinned. "Not so little anymore. Wait till you see her. 13 going on 30. Beautiful. Sassy as hell." "You knew that was coming." God, I can't believe it's been 2 years. She thought of the last time she'd seen the three of them and what she'd almost done to that new staff member, who she found out much later had quit a day after the incident. She was also so glad Jess had taken Gabby away before it had happened. She wouldn't have wanted her young cousin to see her like that. Hell, she didn't want anyone to see her like that, ever. She thought of something Dr. Catry said to her during their last session yesterday. "It's important to acknowledge the past without obsessing over it. We obsess as a way of punishing ourselves when we feel guilt. But you have nothing to feel guilty for, Sienna. Thanks to you, your brother is still alive." But her mom wasn't. Neither were Brooke and Allie. And Art hadn't just killed them, he'd done awful, unspeakable things to them. And she hadn't been able to save any of them. Maybe she should feel guilty. Greg went on. "You know, you're all she ever talks about, so expect to have your hands full. She really misses you." Sienna smiled. "I miss her too. Hopefully, spending Christmas with Greg and Jess and hanging out with their firecracker of a cousin would be the kind of medicine she needed right now. When they passed a sign that read, Miles County, 12 miles ahead, memories flooded Sienna's mind, things she hadn't thought of for a long time. Jess was Sienna's maternal aunt, and she'd grown up in Miles County alongside her mom. Jess and Greg had met in college, and after they got married, they moved to Syracuse. Greg had landed a job with a financial firm, and Jess, a middle school math teacher, started teaching for the school system. After what Sienna had come to think of as that night, and what the media had dubbed the second Miles County massacre, Jess and Greg had moved to town and bought a house. They'd purchased one in the same area as Sienna and Jonathan's old home, not even a mile away. And when they'd invited Jonathan and her to come live with them, Sienna had been reluctant at first. She'd wished they'd gotten a house somewhere else in town, or better yet, that they just stayed in Syracuse, and she and Jonathan could have gone to live with them there. Not only did Miles County hold too many bad memories for Sienna and her brother, but the media had gone absolutely apeshit about the murders and relentlessly hounded them for interviews. I believe your aunt moved to Miles County for 2 reasons, Dr. Catry had once told her. One was because she didn't want to uproot you and your brother. She thought you needed stability after everything that happened to you both. The second reason is that she wanted to feel close to her sister after losing her, and moving to Miles County was a way to achieve both goals. Sienna supposed she understood, but she sometimes thought her recovery, as well as Jonathan's, might have gone more smoothly if they lived somewhere else. They might have been able to, if not entirely escape media attention, at least minimize it. The Miles County Clown had already been locally famous after the first series of murders, especially when his body disappeared from the morgue after the death of the coroner and 2 paramedics. There had been a handful of murders in the months following that police suspected may have been Art's handiwork or the work of a copycat, but they didn't have any definitive proof. But when Art reappeared 1 year later on Halloween night, the anniversary of the original Miles County massacre, and went on an even bloodier rampage, his body disappearing for a second time afterward, he'd become nationally famous. Unfortunately, so had Sienna and Jonathan. Adding to the dark legend of the Miles County Clown was the disappearance of Victoria Hayes, the only victim of Art's to survive an encounter with him, before Sienna and Jonathan, that is. She'd vanished from the Miles County Psychiatric Hospital that same night after killing 3 of the staff in a horrifically gruesome fashion. She hadn't been seen or heard from since. Sienna felt nauseated thinking about what the first year after their encounter with Art and the pale little girl had been like. Multiple surgeries for both her and Jonathan, physical rehab for her afterward, therapy for both of them the entire time, and reporters, news producers, podcasters, true crime writers, and sick people who practically worshipped Art the Clown, all desperate to get them to, quote, tell their side of the story. Fucking vultures. Hell, after being in and out of mental hospitals for the last 5 years, after all the meds and the therapy, she wasn't sure she even knew what her side of the story was anymore. She hadn't been able to physically return to high school and finish her senior year, but even if she had, she wouldn't have gone. She wouldn't want to endure the looks everyone, students, teachers, and staff would give her, nor did she want to overhear the things they'd whisper to her or to each other as she passed them in the halls. They say she cut off the clown's head with a fucking sword. That's bullshit. They never found a body or a head. Art messed her up really bad. Her body's supposed to be covered with scars. Scars are hot. You think she'd show them to me if I asked nicely? She'd gotten her GED while she had been recovering that first year. Jonathan, who hadn't been injured as badly as she had, recovered more quickly, and he tried returning to school, but he soon opted to be homeschooled all the way through his senior year. Like her, he'd had lots of therapy, but he hadn't had to stay in a mental hospital for any length of time, and she was glad of that. Even a place as nice as Happy Valley wasn't a lot of fun. I don't know why I read that so weird. Even a place like as nice as Happy Valley wasn't a lot of fun. Jonathan had decided to attend college in person and was currently finishing his first semester. He even lived on campus. She was proud of him for having the courage to do that. After 5 years, the media mostly left them both alone now, although every Halloween, somebody decided to do a feature on the second Miles County Clown Massacre and came around pestering them. She was looking forward to seeing him over the holidays. After that night, they'd grown closer than ever, but as time passed, Jonathan began to distance himself from her. They rarely communicated now, and she couldn't remember the last time she'd seen him. It hurt, but she understood. She was a living reminder of the trauma he'd gone through, and he had a tough time being around her. She had to admit she was nervous to see him. What if he still didn't want anything to do with her? She didn't know if she could handle that. But if he needed his space, she'd respect that no matter how much it would hurt. You daydreaming over there? Greg's question brought her out of her memories, and she realized they'd entered town and were almost at the house. I guess. Lots to think about, you know? Yeah, I get that. And they spoke no more the rest of the way, each alone with their thoughts. And that concludes Chapter 6 of the Terrifier 3 novelization by Tim Waggoner. Let me jump on in to see what you guys are saying here in the chat. That was a good one. We're going to close things out at about an hour 15. The pages are blank. I'm just crazy. Frank, thank you so much for jumping in. I hope that you and your family are having a great holiday season so far. I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas. And I hope people are nice to you when they give you shit about Scream. It all comes from a place of love, Frank. Guys, I really enjoy the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast. Hopefully Frank's still in the chat so he gets to hear the nice words. I love what those guys do. I know they're taking a little bit of a break right now, but I really dig their chemistry. One of the things about doing this as a solo thing, the perk is I talk a lot and I don't have to worry about sharing the talking with anyone else. But when you watch somebody or watch a channel like Slaughtered Lamb, or Sam and Brendan from Our Life in Horror, or Rob and Kaylee from That Horror Couple, Brett, Brad, and Chris from Good Real Hunting, it's just like, it is cool to see when people have that chemistry and that bounce back and forth. And Frank and Darren have these two different personalities, some common opinions, but that common passion for horror and for film. So I love what they do. They've been so sweet to this channel in the past, and they've helped us reach some milestones, and included me in some stuff over on their channel as well when they've done trivia. That was really fun. And yeah, if you don't already subscribe to the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast, and you don't already subscribe to Frankly Speaking, which is Frank's solo channel, and Darren's got a channel he just rebranded as Only Sans, which is really fun too. So give him some love, and yeah, I am just making it all up, Frank. This is not from the book. I just watched the movie last night, and I'm just making it all up. That would be funny. But I'm curious. It is kind of cool to see. I'm interested, like, as we get closer to some of the more like graphic scenes, like there's one coming up with Victoria in particular that's got to be happening within the next few chapters. I'm very curious to see how they describe that, because for me, it was one of the most shocking things that they showed in the film. Although I will still say that Terrifier 3 is the most like lighthearted and fun-loving of the movies, which is a bizarre thing to say when you're talking about Terrifier. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Holy cow, look at that. Guys, Gina is celebrating 16 months of membership. Gina's been one of the original members. I think 16 months is the longest that you could have been a member. And she's saying that Ziggy sends Christmas snuggles to all of us and a very Merry New Year. Well, thank you so much, Gina. Give some loves to your pup for the rest of us as well, or for all of us, I should say. And love to you as well. We can't forget that, right? Thank you so much for being a channel member and for sticking with us for, through everything. I mean, I know that with where you're at in the UK that you don't get to catch everything live, but you're still such a great supporter, checking out the replays. And I'm so happy to be able to still do streams like this that you can join live for sure. I'm going to carry on listening to the book as I'm liking parts without Victorian art, but it's not something I would physically watch. And it's definitely not the kind of book I used to read. Yes. It's going to get violent, that's for sure. But yeah, at least, it can be, guised in the silky smooth voice of Davey Deathray. So even when we're talking uncomfortable stuff here, I'll try to make it sound as pleasing to the ear as possible. Thanks for the channel link, Davey Deathray. I'm going to start listening. Oh, yes. Yeah, there's some really cool novelization reading channels out there, guys. If you like horror novels and want to hear people, read them to you, including that original Halloween novel, which is very interesting and goes into some really cool backstory, on just the entity that kind of takes over Michael. It's very, very fascinating stuff. Kind of weird how they describe Michael. They describe him wearing makeup is on his William Shatner mask. It's really, really weird. I am totally locked in. I'm fucking locked in. So happy that you came to join us here, Frank. And I don't talk, I don't blow smoke. Like when I praise somebody's channel here, I give you guys are going to get the 100% genuine article from me. So I don't feel obligated to say something nice just because Frank is in here. I've spoken nice about their channel, previously. And so it's just it's a good reminder and a good opportunity. And guys, Flet from Another World. Flet, did you break 1,000 subs? I know I asked this of you the other day, but I didn't see the answer, probably because I was reading. I'm going to take a look, though. I'm going to take a look right now because I think you did. Guys, Flet is at 986. If you are not subscribed to the Flet from Another World, let's get him to 1,000 before the new year, okay? At least before 2026, let's get him to 1,000 subs. Share the channel. Flet does a lot of really cool interviews with celebrities. I don't know how he gets these. It's amazing, the people that he pulls in for interviews. They do not respond to my messages. So Flet's got the magic touch, man. He's able to bring these people in, and it's really cool. It's a really great channel, and he includes a lot of people. So, I was recently part of one of his videos that he put together with a bunch of content creators. M from Horror Her is always over there as well. So check him out if you haven't already. And Frank Riker sends in a $5, and he's got something to say. I think usually Frank will drop. He's really good about dropping a $5, and he'll just say for the channel. But this time around, he says, thanks for the kind words. Happy holidays to you and everyone in the chat. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Frank. I've been in every stream, Davey, sometimes unable to chat. Well, that's really cool, Frank. I'm pumped that you're able to, I don't know if you mean every stream or if you mean every Terrifier novelization reading stream. But I sure do appreciate that, man. The support means the world. It's been a wild week here. I don't want to go into it too much, but I'm just so thankful for the 99% of the community that is understanding and sweet and supportive. And I'm not going to let a couple of weirdos, ruin everything for us here. Pretty sure I would imagine a lot of you guys have subbed to Kyle's channel. I'm just saying that if you haven't, or even if you just want to share the channel on one of your social platforms, let's get him to 1,000 subs before the end of the year. There you go. There you go. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but my stomach is like begging me for food. I'm doing well, Gene. I'm doing well. I'm going to have a little bite. I am going to jump on over to Our Life in Horror. Guys, their link is pinned in the chat for their marathon fundraiser, okay? So they're doing a marathon today, bringing on a whole bunch of different content creators, and they're raising money for Sobriety Sisters, which is a really cool organization. I'll just read it again. Sobriety Sisters Movement Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based out of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, here in the United States. They strive to provide resources and a supportive community for women in all stages of recovery, and they support women around the globe. So, Sam from Our Life in Horror, she's 500 days sober, or, free from alcohol. So celebrating 500 days of sobriety. And when she was at the very beginning, during the most difficult time of that journey for her, she reached out, and Sobriety Sisters were there for her. So her and Brendan are paying that forward with this fundraiser stream. The link is pinned in the chat. Guys, if you're able to donate, even if you're able to just throw $1, like every little bit matters when it comes to helping people out. And even if you can't, jump on over there, hang out in the stream, chat them up a little bit. Each hour, they're going to talk about a different corner of horror, which I think is really cool. And you can always like the stream, even if you can't hang out for a long time. And if you want to see my silly mug again, I'll be on there at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to talk about Christmas horror. So I've got a huge list of Christmas horror movies that a lot of them, guys, I've recently watched in the last like year or two. And a lot of them are thanks to you guys out in the Discord. So, you know, there's some movies that I have had never seen even just before this year. I'm really excited to talk about Christmas horror because I've become so much more familiar with it and really in love with it. I gotta say, like, I love Christmas movies of all kinds. I'm a huge film nut, just not even just horror, just all film. I love it. But I've been experiencing and enjoying a lot more Christmas themed horror. So anyways, I'm going to stop yapping. I want you guys to be able to jump on over there. Oh, Chester, I don't want to talk about this, but what's your thought about former Michigan football coach being fired? It's okay to bring it up here. I am a Michigan fan. My dad went to the Coast Guard Academy. That was his, that's where he got his first degree. So my dad was a commander in the Coast Guard. Our family was like all over. That's the thing that brought us to Alaska. I'm so thankful for not only my dad's service, but like the experience that I had growing up in Alaska was truly unique, and that wouldn't have happened without the Coast Guard. And it was something my dad, ever since he was a little kid, wanted to be an officer in the Coast Guard. So I think it's really cool. You got to fulfill his dream. He worked his ass off, and getting to a military academy is not an easy thing, guys. It's you got to have a clean friggin' record. You have to have really good grades and a lot of activities. And my dad busted his buns to do that. So very proud of my father, and, you know, not just the service side, but just the dedication to be able to serve, I think is pretty amazing. So shout out to, you know, anyone that served or family members of people that have served, because in a way you're part of that service. You know, you kind of get dragged around a little bit. But anyways, my dad, after graduating from the Coast Guard Academy, he had his choice of where he wanted to go to school, and he went and got an environmental science degree, and he went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. So my siblings were young at that time. Not all of them were around yet, but my dad got his degree, his master's at Michigan, and I've rooted for the Wolverines my entire life. And I'm disappointed that our former head coach, Sharon Moore, you know, not only sought a inappropriate relationship with somebody working beneath him, but he's also a married man with 3 children. So it's doubly bad. And after he was outed and fired, I don't know the entire story, but it sounds like he went to where this person lived and broke into their home, and God knows what his intentions were. I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate, but it's all very sad and very disappointing. And people have got to behave better. This is an obvious thing to say. You probably shouldn't be sleeping with people that you work with. However, that happens, and that can be okay, but you definitely shouldn't be engaging in that kind of relationship with somebody that's working beneath you. And if you are married and if you have children, that's got to be the priority in your life, you know, and to throw away, it's sad for him because he's, you know, you'd imagine he's thrown away his relationship with his spouse and highly damaged his relationship with his children at the very least. And then he had a really good job coaching. Being the head football coach of the Michigan Wolverines is one of the most coveted places to coach football. Whether you're talking about college or pro, it is one of the most coveted, probably a top 10, top 20 job in the whole world of football. And it is very disappointing. So what if those people sleep with me and me not with them? Yeah, but she forced me. It's just, I know it seems like first day stuff, but it is, you know, people, this is the thing too. And we don't need to like really dive into all of this stuff. How are you doing, Em? I'm all done reading, and now we're talking about something totally different. This just goes to show it's not about like, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, this happens like in this church or in this whatever. It's like anywhere where there's a power structure, guys, there are people that are going to abuse that power, unfortunately, because we can be very, very shitty creatures, unfortunately. So it doesn't mean that everyone in a position of power, it doesn't mean every priest or every police officer or every professor or scoutmaster or whatever it is. It doesn't mean that these people are all like this way. However, people that want to take advantage of, or people that are prone to take advantage of their power, they find themselves in these positions sometimes, unfortunately. And just always got to stay vigilant. And I'm happy that the university did their investigation and that they relieved him of his duties. I don't know if they, you know, helped this go on. It's going to be a while before we really know the whole story. But yeah, it's really disappointing. As a huge Michigan fan, it's embarrassing. You would like people to be talking about the football side of things and not this kind of stuff. So you did miss it, you did. But you can scrub back. I read chapters 5 and 6, and it looks like the rest of the guys, it looks like the rest of the reading is just going to be for channel members only. So if you aren't a channel member yet and you've been watching this read along and you want to continue, the great thing is that you know, you could sign up for just 99 cents for 1 month of membership, and you'll be able to experience the rest of the book, the rest of the reading. So so yeah, you can jump into those members only live streams for the rest of the chapters. But because we didn't reach our super chat goal, this will be the end of the public reading of Terrifier 3, the novelization. Thank you for sharing that, Eli. Thank you so much for the love, Eli. Guys, Eli is a pillar of the whole entire community, man. He's all over the place. And when I mean all over the place, I mean that he's supporting so many different channels. I don't mean like, this guy's all over the place, I can't get a handle on him. No, he's just around supporting everybody, and he's so sweet, so incredibly sweet. And Tia Nina is celebrating membership for a month. Fuck yeah. I don't know. You got to set those notifications. Sometimes, guys, with the notifications, when you subscribe, it automatically signs you up for like personalized. I don't know what that means, because I find I get notifications from channels that I don't want notifications from. And like my friends, I want the notifications from. Just random big channels that I follow. Like, I don't need that stuff. I'll find it through just searching the app, because I use YouTube a lot. But yeah, I noticed that it will like automatically put it in personalized, and I don't know what that means. So Cake Boy, listen here, Cake Boy. If you don't want to miss any other streams, make sure it has all on the notification, and then that way you'll be notified a half hour before I'm scheduled to go live, and then when I hit that button, you get another one. So how about that? Yeah, I got to start the whole book. Yeah, he gets that. He made $5.5 million every year that he coached. So I don't think they have to pay him the rest of his contract, but he was set to make like $28 million, Frank. And he gets 11 of that. So yeah, I mean, you could probably give a reasonable person like $1 million or $2 million, and they would find a way to make it work. And they probably wouldn't have to work if they were smart with their money and if they weren't abusing their power, right? So yeah, and then I'm guessing his wife's going to take half of whatever he's got. I don't know what the laws are in Michigan, but if I were her, I wouldn't want to stay in that situation, right? Oh no, working. Well, yes. Tomorrow I will be over on Horror Her. So tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'll be on Our Life in Horror. And then guys, tomorrow I will be on M's channel, Horror Her, at I believe 2 p.m. Eastern. We're talking about Frank's favorite horror franchise. We're going to be talking about Scream and how the rules have changed throughout the franchise, and how we think the rules are going to be augmented or massaged for Scream 7. How will Scream 7 use some of the original rules, but what new rules will Scream 7 come up with? Because there's usually new rules brought in. So I'm very excited to hang out with Em. She is an amazing content creator, and collaborating with Em, whether it's been live or on pre-recorded sessions where we just hop on a call, guys, she is an absolute delight, a really sweet person, and I'm so happy. This is the best part about YouTube, is getting to know you guys and getting to know some of these creators a little bit better. So thank you so much for jumping on in, Em. I'm sorry you have to work or had to work through all of this, but you can scrub back and check it out. And holy crap, I said an hour 15. Here we are at an hour 30 because my Midwest goodbye. I'm not even from the Midwest, and I got a Midwest goodbye. Here's a new rule from Scream 7. Don't suck. What if it's actually good, Frank? Is it possible that you could, I don't even know if you plan on watching this movie. I wouldn't blame you if you don't, since you're not a fan. But do you see, can you envision a world where a Scream movie would come out and where you'd be like, okay, that one works for me? I'm just curious to know. No pressure. I'm not, you know, I mean it sincerely. Like, I am curious to know if there is anything they could do where you'd be like, huh, all right. I'm looking forward to Scream 7, but I did not like Scream 5 or 6. It's always possible to do something. Dude, they really need to do some different shit. I am right there with you, Frank. I want to see a cliffhanger. I know Dave's been talking about it for years, so I try to mention this every time because at least for me, Dave was the first person that I heard mention that. And I don't want people to think that I'm trying to steal that shit or like I'm the first person that thought they should do a cliffhanger. No, I think that would be one way of really shaking things up, is to let at least one of the killers get away. You know, maybe a half resolved cliffhanger, Empire Strikes Back ending. You know, maybe Sydney is like in the worst spot, you know, mentally or spiritually that we've ever seen her when the movie ends. I think that would be kind of cool. I also want Gail to be like out of there. Like, she's got to go. Like, we already got rid of Dewey. We got to get rid of Gail. I want Sydney removed. I want her cut off from everything that has been like safety for her. And I want it to feel like she's spiraling. Dark night of the soul. I want some dark, dark shit for her. And since they're already in pre-production for Scream 8, let's see that cliffhanger. Let's see some uncertainty in the franchise. Get rid of Mindy. There you go. What's happening, Shay? We are saying goodbyes right now, Shay, but you can always scrub back. I love the potential positivity from Frank here, that he won't shit on it until he sees it. I like that. Dewey is the killer. He had enough of all the BS. Well, I guess you haven't seen Scream 5 then. I won't say anything. I guess you haven't seen Scream 5. But Scream 5 and 6 are not great. I even as a Scream fan, it's like, to me, that's what makes it easy for me to say that Evil Dead is the strongest franchise in all of horror. Like, as far as consistency goes and quality. Because even if you don't love Scream, they are consistent. They aren't all over the place like Halloween or A Nightmare on Elm Street, which I like better anyways. All right, guys, that is gonna I guess they could. And I know, you know, that's the thing with bringing back Stu or bringing back whatever. I feel like Scream has just been relatively grounded, and I would hate it if they turned it into some, you know, Halloween and Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street, where they were all over the place. And that's fine in those franchises because those franchises have superhuman or supernatural elements. I really don't want that to be part of Scream, though. Yeah. I really want a doc like In Search of Darkness, but made by only horror YouTube content creators. I wonder how much that would cost. Well, they're already kind of doing their thing, right? I would love to just be included in what they're doing. And they would probably be a good resource. You know, maybe if some of us content creators came to those folks, you know, the creator VC people, and we're like, hey, we have this idea and it would be really cool if most of the, you know, testimonials are from YouTube horror content creators. You know, maybe they would assist in that, you know, something like that. I walk out if there's a Ouija board in it. Yeah. I mean, if they put a Ouija board in Scream, like, I'm out too. But I do like that second Ouija movie, the one that Flanagan did, Origin of Evil. I do like that. Ooh, Soulja boards. I love it. No, you said Soulja and it's on the internet. Somebody screenshot that, because screenshots are forever and they're always 100% accurate. It just makes me think of like Soulja Boy, like the rapper. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. I am way off the rails, and there's more important streams going on right now. The link pinned in the chat, guys. Go click on that link, at least hang out for a little bit and drop a like. I know some of you have already been over there, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys in there after the stream. I really appreciate you kicking it with me. Shout out to the YouTube channel members. You guys are awesome. You guys are going to be getting the rest of the Terrifier book, so shout out to you. Patreon members, you guys are amazing as well. And guys, give it up to the Death Squad mods. They keep things clean. I know I can trust these people. We've had a bit of an upheaval this last week, but I know who I can trust now. And I'm so happy to have these folks on board. And I love you guys so very much. I will be back Sunday night, tomorrow night. We'll actually be back tonight, 7 p.m. on Our Life in Horror. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern on her talking about Scream 7 and rules. And then tomorrow night, the It Welcome to Derry finale. Cecil and I are going to be watching that. I'm really hoping Fuego can join us as well, because I love his presence and I love his Stephen King knowledge. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But man, episode 7 was bonkers. How supportive you guys were of that episode was incredible. I'm really looking forward to the finale. And the last thing I'll say before I leave is, guys, your support overall has been incredible. My Jason Universe video went off. All right. It went off. And since the It Welcome to Derry episode 7 watch party last Sunday, I've got like 80 new subscribers, which is bonkers for a channel this size. So I love you guys for hitting the like button, engaging in the comments. Those of you that are hyping the videos and all that stuff, that's so awesome too. You guys are just as responsible as I am for the growth and success of this channel. I can make the content, but I can't sit there and watch it and share it and all that stuff any more than just me sharing it to you guys. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for being a part of this huge community, and even more so being a part of this little corner that we have with the Death Squad. You guys are beautiful, amazing people. I love you all so very much. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you in some streams, within the next, 24, 36 hours or so. So, how do I end these things? I'm so bad at ending these things. I can't quit you, guys. But until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.